At 88, Jack Nicholson names the 6 actors he hated the most. Here's Johnny. Hollywood's most iconic eyebrow raiser has never been one to hold his tongue. Jack Nicholson, the man who redefined what it meant to be a movie star, has lived a life of unfiltered authenticity, both on-screen and off. Now, at 88, Hollywood's ultimate bad boy is finally spilling the tea on the co-stars and contemporaries who got under his skin throughout his legendary career. In an industry built on fake smiles and empty compliments, Nicholson has always been the rare exception. A man who tells it like it is, consequences be damned. These aren't just minor disagreements or professional rivalries. These are the actors who triggered something visceral in Nicholson, creating tensions that sometimes simmered for decades. I tell you to dump a body in the marsh, you dump them in the marsh. What you're about to discover aren't just behind-the-scenes squabbles, but fundamental clashes of acting philosophy, personality, and power that shape some of cinema's most memorable performances. And in true Nicholson fashion, he hasn't softened his opinions with age. If anything, the passage of time has only crystallized his judgments of the men he considered pretenders in an industry where he was always the genuine article. The question isn't just who Jack Nicholson disliked. It's what these conflicts reveal about the true nature of Hollywood stardom and the invisible battles happening just beyond the camera's frame. You want answers. I think I'm entitled. You want answers. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth. 1. Tom Cruise. When megawatts collide, when Jack Nicholson and Tom Cruise faced off in the courtroom scenes of A Few Good Men, 1992, the electricity of their confrontation leaped off the screen. Cruise's Lieutenant Caffey demanding the truth and Nicholson's Colonel Jessup thundering that he couldn't handle it created one of cinema's most quoted exchanges. But according to industry insiders, the tension between these two Hollywood titans wasn't just good acting. It was the result of a fundamental clash of approaches that left Nicholson with a lasting distaste for his younger co-star. He respected Cruise's smile, but didn't trust what was behind it. Jack and Tom represented completely different approaches to stardom, revealed one crew member who worked on the Rob Reiner-directed military drama. Jack came up through the counterculture, the rebellious new Hollywood of the 70s. He built his career on complexity, moral ambiguity, and raw authenticity. Tom represented something entirely different, the hyper-controlled, image-conscious star system of the 80s and 90s. This philosophical divide manifested in their working methods. Nicholson was famous for his improvisational approach, often veering from the script to find unexpected moments of truth. Cruise, by contrast, was methodical and precise, known for his exhaustive preparation and reluctance to deviate from the carefully crafted screenplay. Jack would come to set ready to play and discover, explained the film's assistant director. He might try something completely different on the 5th take just to see what would happen. Tom would arrive having rehearsed every line, every gesture, every facial expression to perfection. He knew exactly what he was going to do before the camera rolled, and he rarely deviated from that plan. This fundamental difference created friction that grew as filming progressed. According to those present during the production, Nicholson became increasingly frustrated by what he perceived as Cruise's lack of spontaneity and over-reliance on technique rather than authentic emotion. After one particularly intense scene, Jack muttered something about Tom being fake deep, recalled one production assistant. He said Tom knew how to hit the right notes but wasn't really playing the music. It wasn't a criticism of Tom's talent. Jack acknowledged he was skilled, but rather a judgment that there was more charm than soul in his performance. What particularly irked Nicholson was Cruise's famous intensity, which the older actor allegedly considered performative rather than genuine. While Cruise had built his reputation on his maniacal commitment and 1,000-watt smile, Nicholson, who had established himself playing characters of genuine darkness and complexity, reportedly saw this as a carefully constructed facade rather than true artistic vulnerability. Jack told a few people on set that Tom was selling the sizzle, not the steak, revealed one source close to the production. He thought Tom was brilliant at creating the appearance of depth and intensity without actually opening himself up to the real messiness of human emotion. For Jack, that was the cardinal sin for an actor, seeming rather than being. Despite these tensions, both men maintain professional respect on set with their personal friction, perhaps enhancing the adversarial dynamic between their characters. The film's success, and particularly the praise heaped on their scenes together, suggested that whatever their personal differences, their contrasting energies created compelling cinema. In the years following A Few Good Men, Nicholson rarely spoke publicly about Cruise, but industry insiders noted that he never sought to work with him again. A telling choice from an actor who frequently collaborated with directors and co-stars he admired. When asked about Cruise in interviews, Nicholson typically offered diplomatic praise of his professional abilities, while noticeably avoiding any mention of personal warmth or connection. Jack measures actors by what they're willing to reveal of themselves, their true selves on camera, explained one longtime friend of Nicholson. In his view, Tom is always presenting a perfected version of himself rather than something raw and real. And for Jack, that's not just a different approach. It's a lesser form of acting. I don't care about your money. Your life is going to be fine. Listen, you and I ever get involved in murder. You understand what I'm saying to you? 2. Harvey Keitel. When method meets madness. When Jack Nicholson and Harvey Keitel were cast as Border Patrol agents in Tony Richardson's 1982 drama, The Border, it seemed like a perfect pairing of two of the era's most compelling actors. Both had built reputations for intensity and authenticity, though through markedly different approaches. What unfolded instead was one of the most contentious actor pairings of Nicholson's career, a clash of techniques and temperaments that reportedly left both men seething. Nicholson never worked with him again and made sure studios knew why. The friction began almost immediately with the fundamental issue being Keitel's devotion to method acting, the immersive technique pioneered by the actor's studio, where performers essentially live as their characters throughout production. Keitel, a dedicated disciple of method pioneer Lee Strasberg, arrived on set already inhabiting his character, rarely breaking from that persona even when cameras weren't rolling. Harvey showed up as his character and stayed that way for months, recalled one crew member. He would maintain his Border Patrol persona during lunch, between takes, even during production meetings. He wanted to be addressed as his character Bob and would sometimes ignore people who called him Harvey. Nicholson, while serious about his craft, took a dramatically different approach. Though capable of remarkable transformation, he maintained a clear separation between himself and his characters. He would step into and out of character as needed, often joking with crew between takes before seamlessly returning to the emotional demands of a scene when the cameras rolled. Jack found Harvey's approach not just unnecessary, but actively counterproductive, said a production assistant who witnessed their conflicts. He thought staying in character 24/7 created an artificial intensity that actually interfered with genuine human interaction on screen. Jack believed in bringing your life experience to a role, not submerging your identity in it. This philosophical disagreement erupted into practical problems when the actors needed to work together. Keitel's constant in-character behavior meant that he approached scene rehearsals with the same intensity as actual takes, something that conflicted with Nicholson's preference for saving his most powerful emotional moments for when cameras were actually rolling. Jack liked to map out scenes technically in rehearsal, blocking, timing, basic line readings, but save his real performance for the take, explained the film's assistant director. Harvey wanted full emotional commitment every time they ran lines. Jack found this exhausting and unnecessary. The tension reportedly reached a breaking point during a particularly intense confrontation scene. According to multiple sources, Keitel's aggressive method approach led him to physically shove Nicholson with unexpected force during a rehearsal, catching the star off guard and genuinely angering him. Jack completely broke character and said something like, "What the hell are you doing? We're making a movie, not fighting a war," recalled one witness. Harvey responded that he was living truthfully under imaginary circumstances, which is a classic Strasberg teaching. Jack shot back, "Well, I'm trying to make a goddamn film without getting assaulted." Following this incident, communication between the two actors reportedly deteriorated to the point where they would sometimes refuse to speak directly to each other, instead relaying messages through the director or assistant directors. Their scenes together became exercises in barely contained hostility. The irony was that the animosity actually worked for their characters who were supposed to have a contentious relationship, noted one crew member, but it made the set incredibly tense. Everyone was walking on eggshells around them after the board.